All right, welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. This is The Late Show, and I'm your host, Young Brando. Um, Guys, I mean it when I drop the join the conversation link here. So you're always welcome to jump on the panel. Doesn't matter what the night's topic is, doesn't really matter if you think you can contribute or anything. It's always great to have an interlocutor, someone to jump ideas off of, exchange opinions, talk about watches. This is what we are here for, even though ostensibly we are finishing up the auction preview for Sotheby's New York tonight. I might set aside the Tom Brady collection because I will probably have a special guest for that. But if he decides to jump on, he knows who he is, a legendary Pats fan and a great member of this community as well. So if he decides to jump on, maybe we will start and even end with talking about the Tom Brady related pieces that are going to be on sale this weekend. Otherwise, we are gonna finish up today with the so-called important watches auction. Let me share with you the link. There are just a few more pieces that I wanted to discuss there. But if there's anything that I've missed out, if there's a watch that you would like to highlight, send in the lot number and I'll see what I can do. And I will be more than happy to discuss it. Now, there are a few very interesting Blancpain, actually, from the era of Jean-Claude Biver. It's a whole set. Hey, C3D and Ducky, nice to see you guys in the chat. Apparently it was a 5-piece, or was it a 4-piece set of Le Mans in stainless steel, ranging from time and date to much more complicated pieces. So let's take a look at those. This is lot 247. If you need a general idea, the Le Mans is the pilot watch for Blancpain, or Le Mans rather, with the accent, if that is in fact how this model is spelled, with stylized, oversized Arabic numerals, with a number of different finishes, as you can see on the dial, and a date at 3 o'clock. They also have, I think, what they call obelisk hands, nicely illuminated, and also a spear-like center sweep seconds hand with a red tip. Hey, Ryan Offrey. Those flags are making even more sense now that I'm basically dressed up like an IDF soldier. So I'm sure the hate watchers are particularly enjoying this moment. We're looking at important watches, December 6th auction of Sotheby's New York. Stainless steel with the matching bracelets, time and date with a special blue dial. The case diameter is actually quite reasonable, 38 millimeters. And these were basically made in 8 examples, so incredibly limited. quite thin with a stepped bezel. And that number is also engraved on the oscillating weight as well, which is rendered in 18 karat gold true. The estimated value of the piece is set in the range between 6 to 12,000 US dollars. 248 is part of the same set, same series, as you can see here, number 8 of 8. This is a much more complicated watch. With an 8-day power reserve and a flying tourbillon that's placed, the carriage of which, or the cage of which, is placed at 12 o'clock, kind of occupying the focal point of the watch. There's also a pointer date at 9 o'clock, and since the watch has an 8-day power reserve at full wind, it also has an indicator for that in terms of a fan-like scale at 6 o'clock. You have the same blue sunburst style and the oversized and stylized Arabic numerals that harken back to the aviation heritage of this watch. Again, the piece is still quite thin, even with the stepped bezel design of the watch. And here's a look through the exhibition case back. This one is also self-winding, but has an open-worked oscillating weight, which puts the initials of the brand's founder, Jean-Jacques Blancpain, in sharp relief. Captain Kirk says, looks better, more simple. It's practically a field watch, really. Yeah, I mean, field watches and pilot watches have basically the same lineage, you might say, in the sense that they are both military tool watches, but I think the aesthetics are mostly based in their utility, right? You want a dial that's usually a dark color. Of course, the original is black, with oversized numerals, luminous, with big hands, like broadsword hands, perhaps. So it would be legible, right? That's the main idea. And you're right, the simple, the better, especially when it comes to the time only or time and date version. But this is the flying tourbillon with 8-day power reserve. And flying tourbillon means simply that there's no bridge that sets the cage in place, meaning that you have an uninterrupted view of its revolution, right? As if it's floating or flying in air. This is lot 248 from the same 8-piece limited run, number 8 of 8, with the 8-day power reserve, the flying tourbillon Blancpain Le Mans, with the estimated value set in the range between 10 to 20,000 US dollars. We have the perpetual calendar, also number 8 of 8, with the blue sunburst dial, once again with a 38 millimeter case. This one is a little fatter, because it's actually a perpetual calendar chronograph. So there's some justification to that thickness. The moon phase indicator is at 6 o'clock. The leap year indicator is housed within the subdial for the month at 12 o'clock. There's a 12-hour counter at 9 o'clock, which is surrounded by the day of the week, and a pointer date, which surrounds the 30 minutes totalizer at 3 o'clock. Once again, stainless steel with the matching bracelet, and the rotor, which is rendered in gold, is numbered 8 out of 8 as well. For lot 249, the estimate also is set in the range between 10,000 to 20,000 US dollars. And 250 finally, five out of five, really reflecting the aviation provenance, aviation heritage of this watch, a flyback chronograph. Once again, of that same series, stainless steel mounted on a matching bracelet with the blue sunburst dial. There's a date window at 6 o'clock, 12-hour counter at 9 o'clock, and a 30-minute totalizer at 3. Of course, with a centrally deployed chronograph seconds hand as well, and continuous running seconds at 6 o'clock. Again, the watch is relatively thin, and the stepped bezel looks beautiful in its design, in its architecture from the side profile. And once again, this piece too is engraved on the winding rotor as number 8 out of 8. There were a few more interesting Blancpains, including this Tornik Rayville. Some of you might be familiar with the story, but hey, Basil, how are you doing? The bezel seems thick, and Basil's bezel says, I've been eating protein. He's bulking up. He's bulking. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you for hitting the like button almost immediately as you joined. It's been very helpful, and let's keep that going. If you have forgotten for whatever reason, if you haven't hit the like button already, it really helps. The Tornik Rayville branding for these particular divers, for these particular versions of the 50 fathoms, let's quickly call them, comes from the Buy American Act, originates from the Buy American Act, because the American distributor of Blancpain, Alan Tornik, wanted that contract. And the only way of doing that was to come up with some sort of American branding. So the brand name was partly his last name, Tornek, and partly a play on where the Blancpain um, manufacturer was based at the time, which is the town of Virey. So Rayville became the second part of it. This is a TR 900 made for the US Navy. Apparently, just about 1,000 of these pieces were made at the time. And since they were actually tool watches, since they were quite heavily used, few of them survived in collectible condition, and this actually looks pretty decent. I mean, obviously, again, there's a reason that they put these up for auction without so much as quote unquote cleaning or fixing the crystals or changing it up, because that is supposed to be the original crystal. They leave that up to the buyer to see if they would want to change it, if they want to try to get it fixed or preserve it to the best of their ability in the current condition. That is the original crystal, that does bear the original marks of its use. The dial seems in great condition. The humidity indicator at 6 o'clock, of course, is one of the signature details of this watch, since it was made for purpose, made for military issues specifically, and the quartermasters who would issue these for a specific mission or task would collect these watches back, and they would not always have, of course, all the resources, wherewithal, and direct contact and experience of knowing whether the watch was compromised in any way. So those humidity indicators at 6 o'clock gave actually visible, identifiable sign if there was any water or significant humidity ingress into the case, right? Those would be filled up, basically. Very beautiful watch when it comes down to it. Here's the dial's condition under that dial, sorry, under that original crystal. If found, returned to the nearest military facility, and the issue numbers are on it as well. Thank you, GRD. Thank you. Saludos to you too. Thank you so much. It's even better to see you, feeling even better. My mom got a cat, so that's been very interesting and fascinating, and I'm very, very happy with her. She doesn't have to be alone now, so that's the news of the day. Since we have been talking quite a bit about Blancpain, let's take a look at this Aqualong. Comes from right around 1960. The Aqualung is basically the co-branding that the that Cousteau gave, Jacques Cousteau gave to the 50 Fathoms watch, because essentially Cousteau, with his collaborator Émile Gagnan, developed a diving regulator they called the Aqualung, and that also became the name of their retail operation. So basically, Cousteau, when they elected to sell the 50 Fathoms in his stores, they were branded 50 Fathoms Aqualung. And apparently, I'm sure Basil will like this. There's an interesting marking on this watch that connects it to Rhode Island, and specifically Newport, Rhode Island, because the case back is engraved apparently with NUOS. I'm trying to find exactly where that is. Is it inside the case back, maybe? The lot essay identifies it, but I can't see it immediately. Interesting. Okay, maybe your eyes can discern it better than me. I will just leave it here and read what that lot essay says to all of you, so we can do the detective work together. Dial aside, the most interesting item appears on the case back of this watch. In addition to the usual engravings, it also features a hand engraved NUOS, standing for Naval Underwater Ordnance Station, which was and is based in Newport, Rhode Island, now known as the Naval Undersea Warfare Center. Since the division's reorganization in 1992, this base was responsible for testing and development of our torpedo technology throughout the 20th century, and was based on Goat Island, not to be confused with Goat Tom Brady or Goat Cristiano Ronaldo. Goat Island. Given the engravings, it would make sense that a 50 Fathoms would have been chosen by the original owner, as Blancpain was already a supplier for the military by way of the famous Tornik Ravel models. I can't really see it. I think it's like right here. I can very faintly see a UOS here, and I'm guessing that's the N. But yeah, don't mind me. I mean, they wouldn't, guys. It wouldn't be the first time that someone wrote a good story in a lot essay that doesn't necessarily coincide with the actual condition of the watch, right? Allegedly. This is Sotheby's Important Watches, New York, December 6th. Lot 244 for a Blancpain Aqualung from around 1960. Vintage diver's watch with an estimated value between 25,000 to 50,000 US dollars. Oh, I honestly, I mean, I have watched my fair share of Tim Masso videos, but I'm not as erudite in the subject as some people are. I didn't even know that he had anything to do with the Navy. But that's cool. I didn't know. Tim Masso, thank you for your service. 239. We are going really heavy on Blancpain today. This is a perpetual calendar in platinum with a very interesting brown dial. Once again, from a limited edition. It has a 24-hour hand, which serves as a day-night indicator right underneath the hand stack for those leaf-shaped hands, which is a running theme. The calendrical indications too have smaller leaf-shaped hands with a pointer date at 3 o'clock, day of the week at 9 o'clock, and the month at 12 o'clock. That surrounds the leap year indicator. And there's, of course, a moon phase indicator at 6 o'clock as well. Roman numerals applied in somewhat abbreviated small form on the periphery of the dial. It's kind of like a copper bronze color more than the brown with that sunburst effect especially. It's pretty cool, actually. I usually don't really like these kinds of dial colors with white metal, but here it somehow works. I don't know. 54 out of 150. Again, as mentioned, it's a limited edition, comes in a 42 millimeter case in diameter with a matching platinum déployant clasp and with its box and papers as well. As you can see right here. It is a beautiful box, actually. You know, you do expect these sorts of limited edition watches, especially a platinum perpetual calendar, to have special presentation, of course, but that's not always the case. So one needs to give credits when one sees it. Of course, that is indeed a beautiful watch box. Shalom, the ghost of Irish Gambino. This is lot 239 for a limited edition platinum Blancpain perpetual calendar, 42 millimeters in diameter, with a copper brown dial. Nice stepped bezel again, with kind of fatter teardrop lugs. Still a nice flourish. And lot 239 has an estimated value of 20 to 40,000 US dollars. There's quite a stunning version of the Uhrwerk or UR100V. It's once again a limited edition piece, Time and Culture number 2. Dedicated to the Sumerian culture, whose, by the way, main cult center was incidentally the city of Ur, unrelated actually to the prefix Ur, which is a homonym to the German words for watch, Uhr, UHR. The blue dial is engraved with symbols representing the Sumerian gods Utu, Nana, and Inanna, with the Sumerian planisphere. The case itself is a blue-coated stainless steel. Really beautiful piece. You know, it really gives, I feel, a much more, I don't know, an aesthetic that I appreciate even better when there is a specific theme going on. I mean, I came to appreciate Ullwerk designs more and more over time, but this kind of special edition takes things up to the next level, of course. And I've always appreciated, you guys know, my fascination with AP's Star Wheel, especially in its quote-unquote original wristwatch versions, the reference 25720 specifically, and also the millinery version in stainless steel too. But the Ullwerk, of course, has a much more futuristic appearance, quite different from something rather conservative or generic. This is lot 236. The piece, as you can see, comes with the full suite or full set of its accessories and has an estimated value that ranges between 45,000 to 90,000 in US dollars. It's crazy, really, right? You know, you might as well let your freak flag high when you are wearing something like an Ullwerk. So this is the way to go. The pink gold version of the 1815, which is the more sober line of chronographs by Erlang und Söhne. It is basically really a more understated version of the datograph, of course, without the oversized date indicator, without the big date at 12, without the power reserve. The case itself is more compact, especially compared to the current version of the datograph up and down, as they call it. It's, of course, thinner as well, with the quote-unquote removal of those complications too. 39.5 millimeters in diameter, here served up in an 18-karat pink gold case with a black dial. And as you guys know, this piece has a pulsometer rather than the tachymeter of Erlang und Söhne, graduated for 30 pulsations inscribed on the periphery of the dial. Of course, when it comes to the beauty and architecture of the movement, you still get practically the same package, at least as far as the eye can see through the exhibition caseback. This is lot 232 for an Alangonzure 1815 chronograph, pink gold with the black dial, with a pulsometer and flyback functionality, of course, and an estimated value that ranges from 35,000 to 70,000 US dollars at lot 232. There's a fantastic Art Deco inspired Laurent Ferrier that I wanted to look at here, which is a version of the Gallet square. The Gallet square is reminiscent of the classic waterproof Rolex Oyster case, which were, of course, used for the original Panerai watches as well, but it has perhaps a more flowing, fluid, rounded form, a dressier, a more elegant form, you might say, as well. In this case, you have a black sector dial, of which the sector, the hour markers, are designed to seem like the ever-present sun or sunray motif that is a hallmark of Art Deco design. The hands are also a little different than the standard fare in Laurent Ferrier, more of a diamond shape, of course filled with luminous material. I believe that is the case with the hour markers as well. And the seconds are on a small subdial at 6 o'clock. The piece is in stainless steel. Very sleek and elegant. Again, very beautiful, slightly downturned teardrop lugs attached to the case. And the micro rotor movement is quite stunning. I particularly love the rotor bridge as well, both with its larger jewel set into that gold chaton, but also its lovely hand-finished decoration as well. Well, decoration sounds a little lavish, but it's hand-finishing details, let's put it. And of course, the classic micro rotor movements of Laurent Ferrier feature a natural escapement influenced by Breguet's original take on it. Lovely watch. The Gallet Square Boreal, stainless steel with a sector dial that is seemingly inspired by Art Deco design. Lot 230 has an estimated value ranging between $20,000 to $40,000. We're closing on, I think, the first hour, roughly speaking. Maybe it's time to set a goal. I don't know. Should I set a super chat goal and see if you guys want to take me to midnight, or is that too ambitious? Hey, why think about it at all? I will just do it, and if we don't reach it, we don't reach it, right? Why not? So 5 super chats of $5 or more in the next hour, and I'll go at least until 11. And if more comes, with or without the goal, I'll take it to the midnight as well. Why not? I have it in me. You guys know. But we don't want to get too comfortable. So the goal is there. I know Brody had asked me specifically to talk about early Roger Dubuis, and specifically the homage cases. And the homage is, of course, where early Roger Dubuis, in a way, really shines in its conservative simplicity, but this is a very unique version of it, especially in the finishing of the dial. But otherwise, this is a very simple round case here in 40 millimeters. Unlike the sympathy or sympathy case, it's not an ornate design. It's not as adventurous. It's not as form or shape oriented. The idea here is basically having a simple, elegant conduit to showcase the best of Genevan watchmaking, with which Roger Dubuis aspired to, in fact, do at a level even above Patek in his contemporary era. A very unique finish on this dial that kind of looks like perlage, right? The circular graining that you see usually on the main plates of the movements. And it ends up looking pretty industrial, but I actually like it. What do you mean I love it, actually, to be honest. I think it goes really well with the alpha hands and the applied Arabic numerals, which are at 12, 5, 6, and 7. And there are abbreviated obus or bullet-shaped, multifaceted applied hour markers that match the pink gold hues of the case. Very beautiful piece. It kind of reminds me of a more humble and compact version of the Patek 5070, which was, of course, built on the same base, the classic Lemania CH27 or 2310, which gave us anything from Omega 321 and the Moonwatch to, of course, Patek perpetual calendar chronographs such as 3970 and 5970, but also Patek's first serially produced solo chronograph after decades, in 5070, which was introduced in 1998. And you can see that this piece too, much like Patek's from a similar era of a similar vintage, carries the hallmark of Geneva proudly on its balance bridge, a swan neck regulator, and even a cap on the column wheel, which is usually considered signature Patek, right? Which is a sign, another sign of Genevan watchmaking. I haven't sat down and counted necessarily the interior angles or anything, but at first blush, the finishing of this movement to me has always looked to be at a higher level than the 5070 as well. And of course, even though this watch arrives without the papers to certify it, the Bulletin d'Observatoire, the observatory bulletin or certification that is inscribed on the dial, also assures us that this watch passed the test at the Besançon Observatory of France. So it doesn't only hold the hallmark of Geneva, the hallowed Geneva seal, but also an observatory certificate from the Besançon, France Observatory as well. Beautiful pink gold chronograph with certain sporty elements, but mostly an expression of classical elegance of Genevan watchmaking. This is the Roger Dubuis H40 with a classic hand-wound chronograph movement based on the Lemania, lot 228, with an estimated value between 20,000 to 40,000 US dollars. Basil, thank you so much. $5. Basil is also a member of the channel towards tonight's goal. Guys, feel free also to just send in any questions, maybe a specific lot number for me to examine, for me to talk about, for me to dive deep into. Feel free. I sent the link again. If anyone wants to take a look at the auction listings or from any of the other Sotheby's New York auctions as well. This is apparently a 5960p retailed by Tiffany's. Of course, for the lack of space, there is unfortunately no signature on the dial. The double signature, that is, of course, the signature of the brand is still there. You guys are probably tired of me waxing poetic about the 5960 in general, but the Platinum is the original. It was introduced in 2006, combining the proprietary Patek annual calendar complication with what was then their new in-house self-winding chronograph movement with flyback functionality. It features a silver starburst dial and a single crosshair chronograph register, which combines Here, not only the 12-hour counter and the 60-minute totalizer, but also a day-night indicator too. Your seconds hand is, pardon me, the centrally deployed chronograph seconds hand, since this is a modern column wheel vertical clutch movement. The operation of the chronograph does not put any extra strain or friction, so you can let it run. And the flyback functionality there comes in handy because you can always use the lower pusher, the pusher at 4 o'clock, to set everything to 0 and run. So if you want to start the chronograph to time something in the middle of your day where you were letting the seconds hand run wild, you can always just use the flyback function to set everything to 0 and start immediately counting. There's a power reserve indicator at 12 o'clock right under the date window. The other date indicators are roughly at 10 and 12 o'clock, respectively, the day of the week and the month. Since this is a pre-2009 model, the movement should bear the hallmark of Geneva as well. And here is the set, which includes the presentation material from Tiffany as well as the certificate of origin, which should, of course, be stamped by Tiffany as well. I think okay. There is a picture, in fact, separately of the certificate of origin, which helps you see that it was, in fact, bought from the Tiffany Salon of Patek in New York. That was lot 211 with an estimated value between $40,000 to $60,000. What about feuille hands, Ducky? I'm not sure what that was in reference to. Of course, this piece has feuille hands with luminous material, but as far as I remember, we were looking at the Roger Dubuis earlier at 228, and that basically has, I don't know, I guess you can call them like a skeletonized feuille or something, but they are so fat in a way that makes them look almost like rounded alpha. I don't know. You decide. But let me see, because I feel like the Homage 830 chronograph, 840 chronograph, usually had a different handset, I feel like. Nope, that is it. Or rather, they had that too. But yeah, you see, this is, for example, an H40 Homage Roger Dubuis chronograph that was previously sold by a collected man. And you can see this is their classic iteration of feuille hands. Right? That's very different than what we were looking at here at lot 228 of Sotheby's New York December 6th auction, which, is kind of oversized feu with some skeletonization, or rather like a set of alpha hands, which just are less angular and more rounded. You decide what to call them. I don't know at this point. Van Lux says fat feu, like a thick, THICC feu, like a leaf, thick leaf hand. I think we are pretty much done with the important watches part. Thank you, by the way, GD and Basil, for your contributions so far. Yeah, let's take a look at the fine watches, which is an online auction that has already started, but is going to close about a week later than the live auction, so on December 13th. And that's going to, I'm going to share the link right here. And lots close independently from each other. So the best way of handling that is actually registering to bid and, clicking this heart next to the listings. So you have a better view of them. Or better hang of when they will end, etc. I have discussed some of the watches from here, but not all of them by any stretch of imagination. At lot 335, there's a good lookalike of Dizzy Gillespie's Tasti Tondi, his Patek chronograph. There we go. I have just covered this on my Instagram, which you should absolutely follow. If you aren't already. But this is from actually the Newport Jazz Festival of 1966, where Dizzy is coordinating his beautiful gold Patek chronograph with his trumpets. There you have it. We have another example of the Tasti Tondi here, offered by the family of the original owner. Lot 335, fine watches, Sotheby's New York online auction. Gold case, applied stick markers with Arabic numerals at 12 and 6, feuille hands again, continuous running seconds hand at 9 o'clock, 30-minute totalizer at 3, with all the numbers, signature, as well as the tachymeter is inscribed in hard enamel on the dial, which gives it a very interesting depth. And of course, the nickname Tasti Tondi comes from the Italian word for round pushers, which have distinctive conical tops, guilloche decorated. I always repeat this, but I will once more. what I love most about these kinds of classic hand-wound vintage chronographs, especially with the two-register versions, is how the position and proportion of the two chronograph subdials relates to the crown, which is just perfection for the 1463 right here. Yellow gold, of course, with what was then quite revolutionary waterproof case, 34.5 millimeters in diameter, with the 13 line Valjoux base caliber, same as Valjoux 23. And this piece comes from the immediate post-war era. I'll look at that side profile, which will help you see the tasti tondi as well, the round pushers with the conical top. Beautiful teardrop lugs. The hallmark at the right lug of 6 o'clock side is quite legible and crisp still. And the piece apparently comes with the facsimile of an archival extract, which confirms that this watch was in fact produced in 1946 and sold on October 16th of 1947. The starting bid stands at 130,000 right now for this Patek Philippe 1463 in yellow gold. And the estimated value of the piece is somewhere between 150,000 to 300,000. But then again, there's about 9 days left for the auction to end, and still no bids as of yet. The Dizzy Gillespie Special at 335. There are these 3 customized Asprey Daytonas, all 116-500 LN. I think they mostly look atrocious. The only one that I kind of appreciate is the Lot 341, because it's at least the signature color of the house of Aspreys of London. There's an $80,000 bid apparently already on the 341. Unlike some of the other Asprey customized Rolex Daytonas that we were looking at earlier, this one is actually not one of a kind, but part of a limited edition of 25 pieces, apparently. But the number is 00 out of 25. So this is either the very first or, in fact, the prototype. But here it is in its Asprey presentation box. And that's lot 341 of fine watches, Sotheby's. I think we had already taken a look at the 2 brass movements F. Bejon pieces here, as well as the Audemars Piguet UTM chronograph, which was the first automatic chronograph that AP had produced in series. $347, one of my favorites, dress watches, the 25720 BA, the star wheel housed in a 36 millimeter 18 karat yellow gold case with a stepped bezel, guilloche dial, open worked in the middle to expose the 3 star wheels, which operate the wandering hours complication and give the nickname to the watch. The minutes scale is perfectly legible at the top of the dial, thanks to how the transparent hour wheels counterpose against that white background of the minute register. And that was lot 347, which has not yet seen any bids. The starting bid would be $15,000, and the estimated value is set in the range between $18,000 to $24,000. Lot 345 is a classic yellow gold ultra thin perpetual calendar. The reference 25657BA, once again housed in an 18 karat yellow gold case with a stepped bezel. The classic and perfectly balanced 4 register or 4 subdial rather presentation with 3 subtly sunken subdials for the calendrical indications and the moon phase indicator at 6. Abbreviated stick markers and thin pencil hands for the hour and minutes. We have a closed case back, pretty good condition as it happens, and a full set. Basically, this is lot 345, already being bid at $12,000 with an estimated value that has a ceiling at twice that amount at $24,000. And at 346, there's a platinum version of this with a different case, however. Again, a round case with a stepped bezel, but this time executed in platinum with teardrop lugs and with a smaller diameter at 33 millimeters. Otherwise, it's pretty similar in terms of its layout. The flame blued hands of the calendar indications are perfectly legible against the backdrop of that white dial. This is apparently a limited edition of, I'm given to understand, 70 pieces to celebrate the 700th anniversary of the Swiss Confederation, released in 1991, therefore. It's a reference 25717 PT. As you can see, the closed case back is engraved accordingly, 59 out of 70 in a limited series and marking the 700th anniversary of the Swiss Federation, 1291 to 1991. And once again, presented with the full set of its accessories, including its original certificate, bought from Zermatt. Lot 346, currently being bid at 13,000 US dollars, with an estimated value that ranges between 15 to 25,000 in US dollars. I've mentioned already that I will go until 10:30 in either case, but if you help me reach tonight's goal of super chats, we're 4 super chats away from it. 4 super chats of $5 or more in the next half hour, and I will actually go until 11:30 and maybe even until midnight, depending on the amount of those chats. But at any rate, I'm grateful for your presence and support, and as long as you hit the like button and share the link with other enthusiasts and collectors, that's more than enough for me at the moment. We're looking at a classic version of the Reverso. This is a beautiful pink gold version of it that is usually called Sun Moon, because it has not only the moon phase indicator at 6 o'clock, but also a night and day indicator that's roughly situated at 1 o'clock as well. And it also happens to have an exhibition case back that displays its movement. I think it's a very beautiful classic piece. Also a power reserve indicator at around 11 o'clock. Classic heat blued hands against the backdrop of the silver dial. And here is the presentation case. The pin for the setting as well as a hang tag is provided as well. The piece is currently being bid at $8,000 with a pre-auction estimate that's set between 8,000 to 24,000 in US dollars. At lot 370, we have a classic Langawan moon phase. With a silver dial and a pink gold case in the traditional case diameter of 38.5. And as it is the case with the classic size of the Langa 1, the moon phase is housed in the small seconds dial that's roughly situated at 4 o'clock in relation to the off-center time display There's, of course, also the two guichet oversized dates at around 2 o'clock and a power reserve indicator that's on the crown side of things roughly at 3 o'clock in relation to the main time-telling dial. And since this watch is from year 2011, you'll see that through the exhibition case back, the 3/4 plate of the movement, which by the islands you can tell is the original movement that's based on the JLC gear train, has taken on quite a bit of patina, sort of strong yellowish hue, a champagne-like tint that goes really well with this pink gold case, but that also gives the watch an additional charm because not only the outside of the watch and the dial of the watch, but even the inside of the watch, its inner mechanism, its movements, is taken on that patina to show all the years and experiences that it has gone through. It comes, as you can see there, with its book, the guarantee book in the leather bifold that also carries the product literature. The piece is currently being bid at 18,000 US dollars. It's a Lange 1 moon phase at lot 370. And the pre-auction estimate had set the value of the watch between 15,000 to 30,000 US dollars. $371 has a classic pink gold version of the Lange 1 with a black dial. That also comes with the full set of its accessories and is currently being bid at $16,000 with an estimated value between 15 to 25,000 US dollars. At lot 380, you guys know that the officer style case is one of my favorite iterations in recent history of the Patek Perpetual Calendar. This is the 5059R, housed in a officer style case, 36 millimeters in diameter, in pink gold, with screw-through lugs, but most importantly, a hinged case back, which of course gives you the best of both worlds, not to mention a beautiful mirroring of your exhibited movements on the inside of that hinged case back as well. Again, you can see the Geneva seal on that bridge because this watch comes from the hither side of that 2009 divide. The 5059 is not only about the aesthetics, about the officer style case presentation, but also about complications because it has a retrograde date indicator that is placed for the most part on the upper part of the dial in the form of a downward facing crescent. A blue arrow indicates the date on that scale, snapping back to the first of the month at the end of each month. There's also a leap year indicator at 12 o'clock right above the signature of the brand. Day of the week at 3 o'clock, day of the week at 9 o'clock, month at 3 o'clock, sweep center seconds, and blackened leaf-styled hands accompany this classic opaline white dial with Roman numerals. This is the 5059R, here presented with the full set of its accessories. It's a piece that was bought from Betteridge in 2006. And right now, it is lot 380 in Fine Watches, the Sotheby's New York online auction. Still waiting for the first bid at $28,000 and an estimated value that is set in the range between 30 to 50,000 US dollars. At 385, we have a piece that's actually our friends Bezos owns in another form. This is the classic Tag Heuer Carrera reissue with the Heuer branding, of course, which was at least the way they used to do these things until very recently, with box and papers, 39 millimeters in stainless steel, and with a teal green dial. An interesting take on what is largely a classic design in a slightly updated, slightly enlarged case form. With the full set of its accessories. I like the dial too, base. It's pretty cool, actually. I like it. Okay, we are waiting in vain for the other super chats to come. So I will just drink some cold water on it. And otherwise, I'll keep going until 10:30, right? For another 35 minutes or so, which will give me a chance to look at maybe half a dozen more watches. And then we will be done for the night. Yeah, look, guys, I don't like playing chicken with my own audience, but I put a lot of effort into these streams. So at some point, I gotta be paid for the kind of work and time I put into this, and it is what it is, right? I love going for whole marathons. You guys know I can go for 4-6 hours, whether I'm on my own or I have some of my beloved guests. All of that being said, the bills need to be paid as well. So just to put that out there, this channel doesn't doesn't plug any second-hand watch salesman. It doesn't. It isn't sponsored by anyone in the industry. Any of these auction houses. None of these things. So I'm just working for you with the most objective, informative way possible. And I would appreciate it if you would support that. If not, at least share the link and help me enlarge the community, expand the community so we can grow in a way that's sustainable, in a way that will allow this channel to forever remain to be dedicated only to the passion of and knowledge of wristwatches and only serve one master, which is its audience, which is its own community. We're looking at Sotheby's fine watches, the online auction that will end on December 13th. Lot 385 is a special edition of the Hoya Carrera in stainless steel, 39 millimeters with a teal green dial. Pardon me. The auction started at no reserve, but currently the watch is being bid at $3,500, and the estimated value of the watch is set between $5,000 to $10,000 US dollars. There are a lot of interesting Hoya pieces, but I'm just as fascinated by this deep sea alarm, the Memovox deep sea alarm by Gégé Lecoutre, branded Lecoutre. So you know that it's most probably dedicated to the American market. The reference A57, deploying Gégé Lecoutre's take on the wristwatch alarm complication in a diver case. According to JLC, according to Gégé Lecoutre, there were about 1,061 units of this watch produced between 1959 to 1962. Which makes the watch quite limited in quantity and extremely collectible. 39 millimeters in diameter, so quite a cool configuration too. Syringe hands, cool piece of design. Of course, there's the double crown aesthetic to set the alarm and set the time. And this particular piece actually comes with some accessories that accompany it. Literally has its presentation box, but open and undated warranty papers and instruction booklets and a sales tag. So for all intents and purposes, it might be something someone put together. But at any rate, that's aesthetically pleasing. For this Lecoutre reference E857 Memovox Deep Sea Alarm wristwatch, currently being bid at 11,000 US dollars, lot 393. has an estimated value set between 10,000 to 20,000 US dollars. At lot 396, we have an IWC Aqua Timer. It's a titanium chronograph with an integrated bracelet design. The piece looks, at least in terms of the center of the dial, every bit like IWC's Pilot's chronographs, but of course on the rejo, on that chapter ring, there is actually a rotatable dive timing bezel, which is operated with, of course, an additional quote-unquote crown. Otherwise, you also have the day date indicator, of course, at 3 o'clock with IWC's signature flanking those double windows up and down. 30-minute totalizer at 12 o'clock, 12-hour counter at 6, and continuous running seconds at 9. It's quite an interesting piece, the IWC Aqua Timer in general. I like the aesthetic. It's too big for my taste, but might be just perfect for others. Titanium sports watches are in vogue these days, so this should fit quite well with that trend. A black dial with kind of neon yellow accents. One of the lots that started without reserve, lot 396, currently being bid at $1,300, and an estimated value between 5,000 to 8,000 US dollars. This was lot 396 from the Sotheby's Fine Watches online auction, which will conclude on December 13th. Since we are running shorter on time, I'm trying to be a little more judicious with my choices. Of course, you should feel absolutely free to redirect my attention to anything. If you have any questions, the link is there. Feel free to browse at your own pace and send in the lot number if you would like me to dive right in with as much horological and historical detail as I can muster. At lot 415, we're looking at one of those Rolex chronographs that preceded the release of the Daytona. So one of those references that are broadly categorized as the pre-Daytona because they are essentially hand-wound chronographs built on the same base, the Valjoux 72. This is, as it happens, the immediately previous reference, so 6238, stainless steel with the black dial in a classic 36 millimeter case with a smooth bezel, the tachymeter inscribed on the periphery of the dial, 3-register 12-hour counter at 6 o'clock, continuous seconds dial at 9 o'clock, and 30-minute totalizer at 3. The 3 subdials, the 3 chronograph registers are sunken into the dial and with radial grooved finish at the center. There's, of course, a Rolex chronograph signature at 12 o'clock and a coronet exactly at 12 o'clock as well. Pump pushers, absolute classic, decent condition on the case, not perfect by any stretch of imagination. No one has bid on this pre-Daytona Rolex chronograph, reference 6238, stainless steel with the black dial, from around 1964. But the estimated value of the piece is set in the range between 40,000 to 80,000. Again, I'm trying to see if I can bring you something unique, something a little different, other than the usual suspects, because there are many, of course, in an auction like this, which has almost 300 different, I think more than 300, in fact, different lots, just fine watches alone. This is one of my favorite references of the ellipse, the Patek Philippe Ellipse d'Or, the golden ellipse. I like it in white gold even more, especially in juxtaposition with this blued gold dial. But it looks also quite great, I have to admit, in yellow gold as well. Lot 468 is the reference 3738. Yellow gold, 36 by 31 millimeters in diameter. The piece comes from year 2006, and with the full set of its accessories, as you can survey here. According to the certificate of origin, was actually bought on November 11th, 2006, back when Senior was still president, Philipp Stern. The piece actually has a micro-rotor movement built on the base of the legacy caliber 240. Currently being bid at 13,000 and an estimated value of 10 to 15,000 in US dollars. For what it's worth, again, the 3738 is for me kind of the Goldilocks size. I think the current reference 5738 is a little too big for this, for the design, right? I like a lot of these design watches, a lot of these shaped watches, form watches, whatever you want to call them. I think they're already a big statement. They don't need to be a dinner plate on your wrist to be seen. Um, it's already an original design that draws the eye. Whether we are talking about, pardon me, a rectangular piece, say reverso, a tank, or something a little unusual, anywhere from the tank asymétrique to the crash, um, the classic double ellipse from Daniel Roth, the Harry Winston, the Patek golden ellipse, whatever you wanna call it. If it's a design watch, it doesn't need to be that big. Dr. Bob's Nightmare, not my nightmare. Thank you, $5. We have 36 seconds left for another 3 super chats of $3 and more. Hey, at least I had enough super chats to buy the 2 bottles of water that I drank, and I have about 20 more minutes to go. Sorry, I can't go until midnight unless I get again 3 more super chats miraculously in the next 20 seconds. But I appreciate the support in either case, and I have 20 more minutes anyway. So if you have any special requests, feel free to just add them in the chat. Same goes for you, Basil, and GD as well. You have all been very kind in just dedicating your support, and without even asking anything back. And I genuinely appreciate that. Thank you. At lot 481, we have actually one of my favorite classic Patek designs. This is the one that goes by the name Hourglass. It doesn't actually have a name. That's just the nickname that the collectors came up with. It's a reference 1593. Of course, that distinctive shape, like the slim waist and fat ass of a beautiful woman. It's the hourglass shape. It's almost that time of the night, boys. I can't help myself. Feuille hands with the spear-shaped or arrow-shaped applied indices kind of arranged like sun rays around the rectangular dial. Small seconds at 6 o'clock and Arabic numerals for the rest of the quarters. Pink gold. I believe these hourglass shapes are also called Tour Eiffel sometimes as well, because from the side profile, the watch looks like the base of the Eiffel Tower. The crystal is very distinct and follows the curvature of this uniquely shaped case too. So an absolute marvel of design, if you ask me. And the dimensions of the case are 42 by 25.5. So actually quite wearable. And again, really a presence on the wrist. Lot 481 has not really attracted any bids just yet. So the starting bid would be 5,000, and the estimate is set in the range between that 110,000. We didn't reach the goal, but that's quite all right. Just hit the like button, please. And we have about, another 15 minutes to go. That means at least 3 more watches, basically. And I will surely make it worth your while. And we'll do another show expressly dedicated to the Tom Brady collection. At lot 505 of the Sotheby's Fine Watches auction, online auction that's gonna end on December 13th, we're looking at an example of the single button chronograph from Cartier in the distinctive tonneau shape that they call tortue, based on tortue à pattes, turtle on its legs. This was a design originally from the Roaring 20s that was revived as part of that CPCP project, Collection Privée Cartier Paris. This was a collection that ran from 1998 to 2008 and conjugated Cartier's strong heritage in design with high horological movements and complications. In this case, the work for the movements was done by Denis Flageolet, whom we came to know through de Bethune, and who has used similar monopusher chronograph movements for his own brand as well early on. And François Paul-Jean, who had joined forces in THA, Technique Horlogère Appliquée. This joint venture also included Vienne Alter as well, even though he wasn't involved in the making of this movement. This white gold version is actually my favorite, not only due to the blue accents, which match really well against the backdrop of the dial, with the heat blued Breguet hands as well. But I think my favorite part of the watch is actually the oversized number 12, Roman numeral single at 12 o'clock. The rest of the hour markers are polished gold drops that match the white gold of the case. And the octagonal crown is actually topped by a multifaceted sapphire, which continues that blue-hued theme. Of course, one of the great things about this particular example at lot 505 is the fact that it has it is accompanied with its presentation box as well as original documents. And here's a look at that famous movement co-designed by Flageolet and Jean, 045 MC, with its bridges excessively and extravagantly decorated with the double wishbone logo of Cartier. This is a single button chronograph, a monopusher chronograph or monopoussoir, as the French call it. So all the functions of the chronograph are integrated onto the crown and are operated by pushing the crown, start, stop, and reset. This is like a silvered guilloche dial as well, which is something you really need to see and experience in person. You know, the photographs really don't do justice to the fine, granular, subtle details of the dial. The estimated value of the piece is somewhere in the range between 20,000 to 30,000 US dollars. The watch is currently being bid at $26,000 at lot 505. We have about 10 more minutes, so we'll look at what is a great deal on the secondary market, by the way. Not sure if it will be in the context of this particular auction. This is the Breguet Marine, second generation from the generation before. Stainless steel, harkening back to the tradition of Breguet making chronometers, naval chronometers, marine chronometers for the French Royal Navy. Fantastic silvered guilloche dial with marine blue details. A sporty version of Breguet hands that are filled with luminous material on those hoops. Sweep center seconds and a big date indicator at 6 o'clock. Roman numerals on the dial. The watch is presented here on a rubber strap, but apparently an early version of the matching stainless steel bracelet is included as well. The case shape has distinct angular lugs, which integrate really nicely with the rubber strap. The case, however, has the coin-edged decoration on the case band and those distinctive crown guards that give the crown a propeller-like appearance. I really like the wave-like shape and decoration of the gold oscillating weight as well. Quite a cool piece. Great variations of this piece in this generation with different dial colors and different materials. Here is the set you will get if you win this particular lot. This is lot 510 for the reference 5817 ST, second generation Breguet Marine in stainless steel with a silver dial, blue details, and a big date indicator at 6. The lot started with no reserve, but is currently being bid at 2,800 US dollars, and the estimated value of the piece is somewhere between 5 to 10,000 US dollars. All right, 5 more minutes, so I will squeeze in 2 more watches, perhaps. Let's do another special Breguet. This is the reference 3807. It's a limited edition of the Type 20 aéronaval, the classic big eye pilot's chronograph that was based on the Type 20s that Breguet made by commission of the Marine Nationale. In fact, the aviation division of the French Navy, the Aéronaval specifically. And this is, as you can see, with a different reference number, a blue dial, which almost looks like purple in this photography, and also with an exhibition caseback as well. The movement itself is nothing to really write home about, to be honest. However, that was a feature of this Japanese limited edition to display the caliber 582 for the flyback chronograph. This example at lot 514 is currently being bid at 5,000 US dollars, and it has an estimated value between 5,000 and 10,000 US dollars. Oops, what did we do? I will do one more. Not yet, Dr. Bob. I think, since this is an online auction, that's going to end at on December 13th with 1 minute intervals. Save the lot, set yourself a timer, and try to snipe towards the very end if you are serious about bidding. Of course, I take it for granted that you will have registered in advance. That's how to get the best deals. If you put in a bid right now, it will only instigate others to bid also way in advance, and it will only raise the price without really leading up to anything, because everything really gets decided in the last 10-15 minutes, if not the very last minute. All right, I'm trying to be, again, really judicious, because this is going to be the very last watch that we will discuss tonight. Okay, maybe I will try to squeeze in one more. We'll see. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. I'm doing my best. Well, since Dr. Bob's Nightmare gave that last $5, I'll do not one, not two, but three to close off. How about that? It will be 3 chronographs, but all really a different take on the complication and with different aesthetics. No, actually, it's 2 chronographs and 1 perpetual calendar. All right, let's start with the chronograph. Lot 547 is the Vacheron Constantin Malte, reference 47120. The white gold hand-wound chronograph built on the base of the classic Lemania movements. This is the hand-wound chronograph. The tradition of which is today represented in the catalog by the Historique 1955, but this is a very different take. The case is 41.5 millimeters in diameter with what one can only call talon-like lugs, stepped, splaying out also wonderfully in the tradition of styling those lugs, giving them a little bit of a flair, which is one of the things that Vacheron does best. Of course, the Malte series currently exists in the lineup, but they're all tonneau-shaped watches. There was a different Malte series before, and this watch is a representative of that. Silver dial with a white gold case. Guilloche, alternating Arabic numerals, multimeter scale that incorporates both a tachymeter and a telemeter. And here is the movement. Lot 547 is currently being bid at 12,000 with an estimated value that ranges between 12,000 and 24,000 US dollars. Now we're going to take a look at a perpetual calendar in a rather unusual shape from Audemars Piguet. Before they started shitting out this absolutely atrocious dog's breakfast of a design that they call Code 1159, AP actually had two important lines, expressions of classical design that were dedicated to the two founders of the brands, Jules Audemars for rather modern take on the classic round case, and Edouard Piguet, which was a rectangular Art Deco design. This is the 25853 OR, a perpetual calendar housed in a pink gold case, 45 millimeters by 28. The dial has beautiful details that include those pink gold rings that surround the subdials, a leap year indicator, a moon phase indicator, and a railroad track, which has a similar pinkish salmon-like hue as well. Cubist numerals that enhance the design aesthetic of the watch. A rather curved case with a flat case back. And it is actually a round movement in a rectangular case, which is not something that I take lightly, honestly. However, at least the movement is framed and rather holistically decorated with a floral motif that makes that round movement in the rectangular case look much less offensive to the eye. By the way, the papers are not there, but the presentation case, the winding box, and the product literature is, and there is actually an archival extract which accompanies the watch. Apparently it was a limited edition, and this is number 36 out of the 50 units. Lot 647 for the AP Edouard Piguet limited edition pink gold rectangular perpetual calendar, reference 25853 OR from 1997. The piece is currently being bid at 12,000, and its estimated value is between 10 to 20,000 US dollars. Hey man, you're most welcome. All right, now finally we come to the last watch of the day. You guys know that I like to think I'm part of the Tifosi now, because Hamilton is just one more race away from joining Scuderia Ferrari. So we can take a look at this Girard-Perregaux watch that they made for the Ferrari racing team when they were partners with them. They came together first in 1999, if I'm not mistaken, to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the Scuderia. And this is a product of that collaboration, limited to 250 pieces for rattrapante foudroyante, which means that what you're looking at is a split-second chronograph, and you can see that from the two separate centrally deployed chronograph seconds hands that are splayed out, both flame blued but with distinctive counterweights. So that's the rattrapante part with the split second pusher integrated onto the crown. The foudroyante is this register, this subdial at 9 o'clock, which is, flashing seconds, basically, which shows 1/8 of each second. So making its revolution within that subdial once per second, but making those 1/8 stops. This is the yellow gold version, 91 out of 250 examples. This piece was available in different metals as well. It's signed as SF Foudroyante, SF, of course, standing for Scuderia Ferrari. And the watch is, of course, complemented with other red accents on the dial, as if to pay homage to the Corso Rossa, the racing red of the Ferrari team. The 70th anniversary is commemorated, memorialized on the case back as well of this reference 920 with the iconic logo 1929, 1999, Scuderia Ferrari, Girard-Perregaux chronographe à rattrapante foudroyante, 91 out of 250. And here is the presentation material. Beautiful piece. The certificate of authenticity is signed in red ink, which seems appropriate. There's a later service paperwork and a certificate of authenticity as well. For this reference 9020, for the split second chronograph with the flashing seconds complication that Girard-Perregaux made for the 70th anniversary of the Ferrari racing team. This is an example from the yellow gold edition, 1 of 250. Having started at no reserve, the piece is currently being bid at $4,500 US dollars. The estimated value is set between 6 to 12,000. That was lot 654 of Fine Watches, Sotheby's New York, an online auction that is going to end on December 13th. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for your presence and support, especially GD, Basil's Bezels, who is a member as well, and Dr. Bob's Nightmare, who have generously contributed. If you want to contribute to the channel, you still have a chance while I close. You guys know that I love dragging on. But if nothing else, please hit the like button on your way out if you haven't done so already. If you have chanced upon this live stream in one way or another and you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please do that immediately, because if you're a watch fan, you owe it to yourself. I have content on watches on a daily basis in the form of these kinds of live streams, but many, many other informative, educational content as well, some of which is exclusive to the members. So getting a membership to the channel and gifting memberships to others is a great way to contribute as well. If you want to bypass YouTube for whatever reason and support the channel in other ways, the links are in the video description, so you can click them there. But I'm going to drop my PayPal link in the chat in either case. I do not know, Dr. Bob's Nightmare, whether Sotheby's promises Christmas delivery. I highly doubt it, but then again, you will have to ask them. At any rate, that is always my caveat, right? You know, whenever you want to buy something from these auctions, go to the previews. Personally, that's the best. Going there armed with your education, armed with your actually factually based information, that's the best way to examine those watches and to come to a final decision. In the absence of that, of course, you can send someone, a friend, or like me, a consultant, someone who actually knows, who's an expert, who can assess those watches and their condition in your stead. In the absence of that, you owe it to yourself to contact them in person. They can send you other kinds of photos, more detailed information, and even sometimes arrange for a video call for you to see the watches in another light through their presentation. And there's always auction information attached to these web pages that list the lots. So you should always do that. And these kinds of information, when they plan to deliver, how fast and when they expect the payment, how quickly that will be processed and get to you, that's always something they can answer later. Of course, this is a US-based auction, so a US-based buyer like Dr. Bob's Nightmare would probably get the watch sooner than later than someone who will have to deal with customs, for example, right? So it's not easy to say a straightforward answer to this unless you actually represent that organization, which I don't. All right, coming back to it, again, I've just posted my PayPal link. I thanked all of you for your support and presence, and these lovely three people, GD, Bezos, and Dr. Bob's Nightmare, for their generous super chats. Thank you again. Please leave a comment once the live stream ends. That's also a lovely little way to help the channel. If nothing else, you can at least share the link with fellow watch collectors and other enthusiasts. That can help us expand this community that is dedicated to the passion for and knowledge of wristwatches. You should follow me certainly on Instagram. By far the best historical, horological, and lifestyle-oriented content on Instagram, and it's only becoming to be recognized now. Otherwise, I will see you soon. I will see you in the next one, hopefully tomorrow. Until then, I hope you stay safe, you stay healthy, and that you wear and enjoy your watches. I will see you in the next one. Until then, take care. Bye.